So just recently, a bunch of writers, journalists, thinkers, artists, people did an open letter in Harper's Magazine calling for calling for um, a dial back on what they I think what probably you could call cancel culture, while both starting off by saying, "Oh, we've made great strides in addressing, inequalities of like racial and gender inequalities." Um, and stuff like that, but we're in the danger of stifling free and open debate, and kind of gave general examples, not specific examples, of where they felt that people were being stifled and that we needed to stop doing that and let people express unpopular opinions without getting the fear of being canceled for them. Um, this was met with a large amount of derision of people saying, well, you are strong, you are powerful people who are used to having your voices heard all the time, and getting clapped back on Twitter. If you're J.K. Rowling, if you're Margaret Atwood, if you're Salman Rushdie, um, you know, that's that. Hello, welcome to the modern world. A new era has begun. Um, that said, and there is, I think I probably fall on that fall more on that side than the other. Um, that said, and there's a lot of straw men that get put up in stuff like this of Steve Donahue saying like, well, you can't. I would never try and teach in this era because the students would sue me for if I my if my syllabus wasn't diverse enough, and I would, you get canceled for all sorts of things. I, I don't know about that. You hear a lot of stories of that of universities, but that they always seem to be rather conflated with people on one side or the other exaggerating stuff or mischaracterizing stuff. Um, there's J.K. Rowling saying that people are forcing our children to be switch their genders, and that women are going to get raped in bathrooms by slavering evil transgendered people. So they can't be they're not allowed to have our our sex. That they're not women. A very turf like position, um, which she's getting roundly criticized for. And people are saying, well, if that is how you feel, I don't think I can actually support you financially by purchasing your stuff or enjoying your material. But, they're making that decision on individual case by case side. There's also the idea of, this is going to get so rambly. Which is why I haven't decided to, you know, which is why I haven't tried to make a video on my channel, because it wouldn't be coherent. Um, I think it comes down to life is complicated, but maybe it should be more complicated than we think it is. That we need to actually, a lot of people who before a white guy like me could just happily tromp over without a second thought. Maybe now I actually have to think about that. Maybe I have to actually consider my words, because a lot of the women and people of color and trans people and stuff like that have always had to actually do this very carefully, and haven't even been able to get to the point where they could get canceled. Like they haven't had any power, so that super privileged people, by like myself, by accident of birth, by accident of passing, um, have been able to sail by. And maybe the same old stuff that we've been peddling all these years can take a break, and new stuff can come out. That you know, there's that idea. That said, I think writers should be allowed to make mistakes, and if it's not and sometimes those mistakes actually reveal stuff about our culture. I think I enjoy reading literature for finding out, like, oh, what does it reveal, what does it say about us, that, like, about Lovecraft, or Kipling, or or Mark Twain, or Edgar Rice Burroughs, like, all these people in the past that were super popular, that resonated with our culture, or at least a certain part of our culture. Like, what does that say about us? What does that reveal about us? It's like, it's been I like the 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 wrong stuff in a way. I don't want that to be canceled. I don't want that to be obliterated. I don't want us to be polished to a virtuous sheen. Um, but I also want a kind of a thoughtful examination of that. I don't want to just accept it. I want to explore it. Um, and I don't know if, when you see things get classified as cancel culture, I mean, maybe there is kind of a bit of a hype at this point. My hope would kind of go back down to, yeah, you're still going to get super heavily criticized or stuff. See, the problem is that of people that get canceled at the moment, it's because they have so much power. You know, it's this is people getting canceled are people in positions of power. I mean, when it's the other way around, when it's people in power bullying people who don't have relatively little power, I think that's a different thing. That's my impression. Of course, no one thinks that they're all powerful. Stephen Galloway probably didn't think he was all powerful, but he was the head of a creative writing program and held a lot of people's fates in his hand, and could make a lot of recommendations and a lot of stuff that could happen to people. So he maybe wasn't mindful enough of where his power situation was, and that's one of the reasons why things came crashing down on him, quite rightly. Regardless of what maybe someone like Margaret Atwood would say, even though probably I could agree with Margaret Atwood in that case, the UBC accountable stuff, that UBC itself, the faculty, the organization, failed both Stephen Galloway and the students. Of course, when they jumped to his defense, they didn't jump to the defense of the students, which is where you get into that power thing of powerful people taking care of each other, but maybe not so much the people that they get characterized as the mob, the 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 envious mediocrity, is as they get characterized as. You know, that's also just an interesting thing. So yeah, I think it comes down to the world's complicated, and got to try and be mindful, uh, and mindful of what power you might have over other people's lives, what impact you might have on other people's lives, and how that that should be something ethically you should be thinking about at all times anyways. And you probably don't, and you probably blunder along. I know I do. Nothing's ever perfect. All right, this has been super rambly dark time, and thank God I'm not publishing this on my other channel.